Hey, it's Haiti, and I'm here with a video about how I use Mint.com to track my budget and keep me accountable for my budget. So basically, I love personal finance. I've been following personal finance channels on YouTube since my early years of college, and I just love the idea of tracking expenses and seeing where my money is going. Um, I remember when I was first starting budgeting, when I got my first job in college, I did it pen to paper. So all of my transactions, I was separating them, especially because I received money from my scholarships, but I also received money from my job. So I wanted to separate those transactions because even though in my bank account you could see all of the transactions listed, I wasn't sure um, what was being accounted for school expenses and what was being accounted for personal expenses. So I liked being able to have one sheet of paper with my personal expenses and one sheet of paper with my school expenses and just seeing where my money was going. Um, that was very thrilling to me. I had a lot of fun doing that. But I realized it just was very time consuming. I had a lot of homework and work to do. So then I started watching YouTube videos and found out from the Financial Diet, so shout out to the Financial Diet, about Mint.com and how they're able to link to your credit cards and see all of your transactions, and from there you can make your own budget and see where your money is going and how much you're being left with at the end of the month, so that you know how much you're able to either save or spend. Which I wasn't really saving in college, but after I graduated I thought, yeah, I need an emergency fund. I'm basically the head of household. I'm the main source of income for my household. So I definitely needed to know how my money was being spent, who was spending my money. Like, am I mostly spending it on myself or am I mostly spending it on the household? And so I thought, I'm not seeing very many videos of people using Mint the way I am. I've seen a couple people who use Mint in a different way, but I thought, why not show the world how I use Mint, and hopefully put some good out in this world for anyone who would like to use this sort of budgeting method, or if maybe there's something that I could change or do something a bit different in terms of my own savings goals, because you'll see all of my numbers and figures. And if maybe you have any comments or advice that would be helpful to me, very appreciated as well. So, enough talking. Let's get on to my budget. I apologize if I keep looking at my screen, but I am recording on the screen, so hopefully the side view is not bothering you too much. But the main screen will be the budgets anyway. So, as you could see, this is the page of Mint directly on the budgets part. So, let's say you go straight to mint.com though, and then you log in. So up on here, like my net worth, I have a lot of credit card debt. I'm not afraid to say it. I guess I'm at $16,000 worth of credit card debt, and that checking amount is actually a bit correct, because I just got paid. So the way that the screens that I mostly use are transactions, which will list every single transaction, and then I mostly also go to budgets. So then this is the budget tab, and it shows every month for the year, in January, I wasn't really budgeting that well, so that's not very accurate. I didn't really start budgeting until I started working at my new job, which, like I mentioned, I have been budgeting for since college, but there's just periods in time where I am unmotivated, feeling hopeless about my money, and so I wasn't really budgeting in the beginning of the year. But then I started the new job in June, and so in July, this is a much better representation of my budget. And as you could see, I didn't do too well. I had $26 left over, so not much to play with. But it is what it is. And in August, you could see I spent way more because I went on vacation with my sister. I went on vacation in September, but we bought like a lot of the last minute things. And then in September was the actual vacation, and we still spent quite a lot. So coming back in October, again, I just don't end up saving a lot. And you'll see, because I am the primary income winner of my household, so you'll see exactly how I'm very stretched thin with my money, and I don't have a lot of room to buy stuff for myself. In November, it got a bit better. Let me see. Yeah. And then December, though, is where we're at right now. So now I'll go through how I have everything budgeted. So first off, we have my income. My income, I got my bonus this year, or this month. So as you could see, and I also got a second job. Typically, like you see in November, my typical 2 bi-weekly paychecks are closer to like $3,600. And I have this other income, $16. Like anything that's other, I need to budget it in, because that means it's not being considered into my budget. So I just click on income. I don't have anything other anymore, and it is now the $16 have been considered into my total income. So now we get to go to the actual spending part. So as you could see, the categories are listed in alphabetical order, so nothing special. So I'll just go down each one. So first you'll see auto and transport, which is basically the auto insurance. I budgeted $130, but this month I owed my mom about 2 months of insurance, and so I went ahead and sent her the 2 months. Currently, we are sharing a car, so it makes sense that I pay for the insurance since I mostly drive it. And I send it to her through Zelle. I transfer it directly through cash. So I'm glad that Mint has that feature where you're able to account for your Zelle purchases as well, including your cash ATM transactions. So for example, they both say Zelle payment to Ruth Martinez, and then I just put it under the category of auto insurance. So the next one is gas and fuel. Thankfully, I ended up being sick with the C word this month, so I had to quarantine for 10 days, and I didn't go to work, so I haven't been using that much gas. But also gas prices are going down, so I'm just very glad that I'm not having to spend the $100 this month for gas, because as you could see, October I think ended up being pretty bad. Yeah, $393 on gas. Like, no lie. Here, I go to Food for Less mostly for gas. So it's like, to fill up my tank, it's like, it was up here in the 70s, 90. I had to go to like a gas place by my job, $93 just to fill it up. So that was rough, but I'm thankful for this month that it's not that high. And so bills ended up being on the higher side, closer to 130. But sometimes, like for example in November, it ended up just being 40. So basically, my DWP gets charged every other month. So basically last month it was just the $25.96 of AT&T, and then the $16 ish. Gas changes a bit, but it's usually under $20 for being low income. Same for the AT&T. The AT&T price is really low because of low income. And then I actually don't pay for the cell phones. We have a cell phone plan for the three of us for $90 a month, and so my sister pays that. That's why it's not included in the bills. But sometimes if my sister's not able to that month, then I'll go ahead and put in the 90 and just account for it under the bills as well. So for entertainment, I usually budget about $50 because I used to have AMC's A-List, where I got to see 3 movies a week for $25 a month. And then I also had the $15 Netflix plan. Yeah, those were the main 2 big players in the entertainment category. And so, including my Spotify. So I kept my Spotify. And then my sister has HBO Max. And we share that account, so I send her I owed a lot for HBO Max. I think I went like months and months without paying my half, so I just sent her $25 at once. And then there's also this theater charge because my niece had a band recital for the month of December. So that's why it was a little high this month, but it was her Christmas show, so of course I was not going to miss that. Under fees and charges, and you know what, now that I think about it, like before the whole C word, we used to be Disneyland pass holders, so yeah, that was a lot of money. But that also went under entertainment, so my budget for entertainment was so high. Well, maybe not even that high, but it was kind of high. Because even though we had the cheapest one and we made monthly payments, it was definitely more than $50 a month, including like my streaming services and Spotify. So but yeah, so next up we have fees and charges. So those are basically my credit card fees. The minimum payments. I have 2 credit cards that I make payments on each month, and so I also account for those. I might have to change my budget a bit so that it reflects closer to the 400, because it did used to be around the 350, but now my interest rates and my like increasing debt amount has made my minimum payments closer to like 400. So that's definitely something I'm going to consider for 2023. And then for groceries, I usually don't have to spend money for groceries. My mom pays for them, but sometimes she'll ask for money, and I'll send her some. I try not to send her more than $50. But again, it's groceries. What are you going to do? But restaurants, every time we go out to eat, I'm the one who pays for all of us. So even though I try to hit under the 400 mark, I feel like it does tend to go pretty high. I want to say like November, yeah, we hit the 700s. So, you know, I do want to look after that a bit more. I remember there was one year where I wrote down all of our restaurant expenses for each month, printed it out, and showed it to them just so they could realize like how often we eat out. And so just so they understand that, you know, it's a lot. Inflation has affected us. So I'm glad that at least this month, thankfully, we haven't been eating out as much. So this next part gets me very excited to talk about, because it's something that I love to do. I love to give to the church. I see it as a way of paying for my spiritual home, like paying rent for living at my spiritual home. I also see it as a way of honoring God. You know, in the Bible, it tells many stories on our offerings to God and tithing to God. So, but it's interesting because I had to create this category on Mint. So that's also a cool feature I like about Mint, where I think up on a settings, yeah, under settings, oops, on transactions there's a settings, and you can manage your categories. And so I put it under gifts and donations. So Mint automatically already has charity and gift, versus I added church tithe. So you can just add a subcategory, and then it'll come up as one of the options when you go under gifts and donations. And I did the same thing, I think, for therapy, which I put under health and fitness, because under health you have like dentist, doctor, even the gym, but there was no therapy. So I added that subcategory, and now it comes up as a line budget. So like I mentioned, because I got my bonus, I also tithed the 10% for that. So that's why my church tithe was a bit higher than budgeted this month, but that's what I wanted to do. So gifts. Usually per month, I try not to give $50, more than $50, for a gift, unless it's like my family's birthday. So like if it's my mom's birthday in November, or my sister's birthday in September. But again, these are also considered Christmas gifts. So currently I've spent about $332 on gifts. I might be spending more. So I can't really do much. It's the time of giving. So that's my gift line. And then therapy. So like I mentioned, I have weekly therapy, that is $27 per session, and it's already the end of the month, and I'm pretty sure I had my 4 sessions already. So I'm gonna have to go in through my transactions and just check to see, because I should be closer to the 120 mark than 54. So I have to fix that. And then my mortgage and rent. So I don't have a mortgage, it's just rent. But it's $950, but thankfully my mom paid for rent this month so that I could focus on buying Christmas presents, and on the apartment search. So we are looking for apartments in like the South LA area. So we've been applying, and so there was one apartment that we liked, and we each had to put in an application for $40 each. So that's where the 120 went. I'm like, well, I don't really have a budget for apartment hunting, so just throw it into the rent since I didn't have to pay it this month. Personal care, we can click on it, because it shows my transactions. It's just like regular little Rite Aid or Target purchases, like if I bought toothpaste or toothbrush, shampoo. And then shopping is also my personal shopping. So like I know I just paid off my Macy's card, and so the Macy's card is similar to like the fees and charges of my credit cards, where I have that budgeted and I put that under shopping. But I stopped making minimum payments because I'm tired of making minimum payments for a $200 debt I have with Macy's. So with my bonus, I just threw in the rest that I owed onto the Macy's card. So I know about 180 is part of the shopping expense. But I know, let me just go on it. Yeah, I bought like $100 of clothes for my sister. This is also considered like a gift, I guess, but gift shopping, kind of the same thing in my eyes. Point is, usually per month I try not to go over 100, but again, this is considered Christmas shopping, so, and Black Friday shopping. So those are basically all my line items. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I try not to have like other expenses that show up here, so I try to budget for every single transaction, and the fact that nothing else popped up under here means that I've budgeted all of my transactions. So thankfully, hopefully, I end the year and the month on a very high note, so that I can put the rest of it into my high yield savings account, to use as either a deposit for the new apartment or to help with purchasing a new car, like I mentioned, that I could hopefully get sometime soon. I don't use these saving goals, because like I kind of have my own system with my savings account and the way that I'm able to separate them into buckets. So like I have a bucket for a vehicle, I have a bucket for emergency fund, and then a bucket for apartment deposit. I also had a bucket for travel when my sister and I went to Paris for her birthday this year. So I can go over my savings account in another video, but I don't really have much funds in it because it kind of got drained from the travel. But yeah, this is my budget on Mint, the way that I like to do it. Each month is roughly the same, and then at the very end of the month it'll give you your summary here on the side. So since December isn't done, it doesn't show, but it'll give you your exact amounts of how much you spent, how much you earned, and then how much you spent, and how much you'll have left over to either save or use for yourself. But I try to save everything I don't use. So once again, thank you all for following me and taking a look at my budget, the way that I use Mint. Again, if you have any comments or advice, they would be greatly appreciated. I also have not posted in a long time, but we'll see if I'm able to either make more personal finance sort of videos or just any vlogs a bit more often. I'm not the best at recording my life, but I do want to maybe get it back into this and just again put some good advice out there in the world, whether it's personal finance related, career related, or just living life as a woman in her 20s living in LA. So again, thank you all for watching this video. Feel free to subscribe, comment, like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.